Welcome back, viewers. Like we promised, this edition of the Bulletin is dedicated to India versus England, the highly anticipated semi-final, the T20 World Cup semi-final clash in Guyana. The last time these two nations faced off in a T20 World Cup semi-final was just 19 months ago in Adelaide when Jos Buttler and Alex Hales helped the Three Lions cruise to a victory in an emphatic fashion. In fact, while the men in blue are looking to keep their unbeaten run in this year's tournament intact, the defending champions have their sights set on yet another World Cup final.
Always India, India is there. The Barbados, we are going to be there.
Yeah, India will win for sure.
I think we just turned the table already, like Australia is already out, right? So,
regardless, India is going to win. Whether it's going to be easy or hard, we have enough batting power to play them out.
Well, the game going to happen. Like it might start late, like 11:30 or 12 o'clock, but rain is right now is raining, and India going to boom again. This is a big match, and the stage is set, and India will do something like they're going to beat England very badly.
I'm here for Kohli. He's not having such a good tournament, but I'm looking forward to him to win.
I just want to say that we need to win today to go in a final, and I'm hoping Rohit Sharma will do something. I'm going to make a lot of runs so we can reach in a final.
Meanwhile, South Africa ended their run of semi-final heartaches today by thrashing Afghanistan to reach their first T20 World Cup final. Marco Jansen and co set the foundations for the lopsided victory with a destructive pace attack to bowl out Afghanistan for just 56 under 12 overs. On the chase, South Africa lost just one wicket and cruised to victory inside 9 overs. Right, in fact, as we speak about India versus England, we have some breaking news coming in on the broadcast. In connection to the semi-final, the toss has been delayed due to wet outfield. So a stop-start game as of now. The toss has been delayed and 89% of chance is what we were hearing before the game started, and looks like it is playing true to what the forecast was. Remember, in case this, in fact, semi-final gets washed out, India will be going through to the final. In fact, my colleague Karishma is getting us all those details. Karishma joins us live on the broadcast from Guyana. Karishma, all eyes on the semi-final between India and England, but the bigger headline grabber right now is the weather. Help us understand, to everyone watching right now, what's the weather like, and will we have a full match today?
Well, Ashish, Guyana has been really unpredictable. In the morning when we woke up, it was completely fine. It was a blue sky, and then, 5 minutes later, it started raining. It was pouring down in Guyana. So obviously, you'll have to wonder what it is going to be, whether it's going to be stop-start. It started raining again, but now the rain has stopped. So the super soppers are at work, and we are hoping for the game to happen. But what we are being told at this moment is that the toss is delayed. There hasn't been a timeline as to when the toss will happen or what time are they looking at. Of course, there's going to be a pitch inspection once the covers are also off because the raining has stopped. But we can hope that there should be a game. Whether it's a full game or not is something that we'll have to wait and see. But the interesting thing is that even though there isn't a reserve day for this semi-final, there are 250 extra minutes that both teams will get to ensure that there is a fair and square result before the match is called off or abandoned due to rain.
Right, Karishma, the update that you're giving doesn't look good for the English fans. Everyone in England, I believe, would be wanting to transport the Chinnaswamy drainage system right now to Guyana to ensure that the match starts on time. Of course, we'll keep coming back to you for more details on that. But on the broadcast, we will be discussing this all-crucial semi-final. Joining me are my guests, Arshad Ayub, who's a former Indian cricketer, Vedam Jaishankar, who's a sports journalist. Gentlemen, welcome. In a short while from now, I believe we'll also be joined by Rajinder Amarnath. But meanwhile, Mr. Arshad Ayub, let me start with you first. Stop-start game, a highly anticipated semi-final. All eyes on this all-crucial game. But it's kind of sad that all the focus right now is not on the game, not on the battles that we'll witness on the field, but on the weather.
Yeah, true. Ghana is always unpredictable. So there'll be some rain, but I think, there is a safety factor of 250 minutes, which I think should allow us, if it doesn't rain continuously, should allow us to play the full game. Anyway, I think, in case the game doesn't go through, as you have already said that we'll go to finals as India was top of the table. But I really hope that we will have a good game and we'll have a full game.
Right. Mr. Vedam Jaishankar, this is, of course, now Arshad Ayub speaking as a cricket fan. Now, of course, as Indians, our first priority would be to ensure that our team goes to the finals, given the fact that we have a very dicey history in the knockouts. But at the end of the day, as cricket fans, we would all want to see a full game, a very highly competitive game, and then India coming out on top instead of the game being washed out and then India making it via this absurd rule.
Absolutely. You spoke earlier about the drainage system also. Let me point out that this present stadium was constructed by the Indian government, as a goodwill gesture during the 2007 World Cup. And it is supposed to have the best drainage in West Indies. But it doesn't say much because Guyana, that's Georgetown.
Mr. Vedam Jaishankar, sorry to interrupt. Are you trying to say here that this particular drainage system is not going to work? Is that what you're hinting at?
That's what I'm getting at. Because I'll tell you why also. Guyana is an extension of the Amazon rainforest, A. And second thing is Georgetown is actually below sea level. So where does the water drain off to? Of course, Georgetown has an excellent system of canals.
Right. In fact, Mr. Vedam, I just have to interrupt you there. My colleague Karishma joins us back on the broadcast. Karishma is joining us back on the broadcast. Karishma, do we have an update right now about the game? Is the game starting? Do we have any update about the toss?
Well, what we do know right now is that the toss has been delayed due to rain. But the good thing is that the rain has stopped. It is not raining anymore. But it does seem like it is going to be a stop-start game as far as this semi-final versus England is concerned. And like I said earlier, there are 250 extra minutes that have been allotted to this particular game. So if it were to be a stop-start game, it will still happen. We need a minimum of 10 overs to be bowled to ensure that there is a result in this game. So all preparations are on. The Super Swappers are at work, and Guyana has quite a good drainage system to ensure that the match happens because the rain has stopped.
Also, Karishma, a quick follow-up question on that. There's a lot of debate that's undergoing about this particular rule, which is now going to ensure that if the match gets washed out, India will be going through to the final. I mean, you've been covering sports for a long time now. How do you look at the controversy that is now erupting? A lot of people are now saying that India, given its dominance in cricket, is now trying to curate such global events.
I don't think that is the case, Ashish. I, in fact, don't think there is any controversy to it. These sort of decisions, these sort of rules have been made by ICC from way long ago, and not just this particular World Cup. Just because it somehow seems to be favoring India, it seems like things are going in India's favor. When India did top the group stage and India did top the Super 8 stage, and that is why they will go through to the finals, not for any other reason. Same would have been the result for South Africa and Afghanistan. And those who are possibly creating this controversy need to see what team they were supporting, and if they would have been in the same position, would they be talking about it? Because this is not the first time that such a rule has been made. Remember, it was already decided who is going to be A1, A2, B1, B2, not just for India, because media from the entire world travels for ICC tournaments. There are bookings that need to be made. There are certain other logistics that need to be taken care of. And in USA and West Indies, I can tell you, it hasn't been easy to get anything done last minute. So obviously that is why this sort of to avoid a logistical nightmare, all of this was of course decided. And let's not forget that ICC World Cup tournaments are also huge on broadcast markets, and one of the biggest broadcast markets for cricket is in India. So yes, if matches are happening India time, or it does seem to be in India's favor, well, because India does have a huge market for Indian cricket, but none of these rules are to favor in India. These rules are for the T20 World Cup that were announced way before the tournament even started.
Right, Karishma, like you rightly pointed out, even if this was the rule, India still had to top the group, which also had Australia. And besides the fact that on social media, on Twitter, we are looking at all the controversy that's erupting. Vedam Jaishankar joins us back. Mr. Vedam Jaishankar, Karishma clearly pointed out how this is, of course, the rule that was in place much before. Now, the bigger question that needs to be asked here is that it's kind of funny that the team and the fans that are talking about this entire controversy are the English fans, the same fans whose team won a Cricket World Cup via boundary count. It's ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose so. But, it's quite crazy because when you look at it, it was said well in advance that if India qualifies, it will be A2. If Australia qualifies from the group, they'll be A1. It was known. It's not, it wasn't known. What really happened was India has more wins. And that's what is actually helping India. India won all its matches, just like South Africa on the other side won all its matches. And that's what is helping India. If this is rained out, and I hope it isn't, but if this match is rained out, in that case, India will qualify for the final. And it's not that this rule was suddenly brought to the 11th hour. This was done well in advance. Everybody knew of it. Everybody was aware of it. And the teams were. But England have a habit of cribbing for everything. If you look at their history right through, they crib for everything. It doesn't matter. They can use Vaseline on the ball. They can cheat like hell. They can kidnap an umpire, dunk him in water. They have done all these things. But for them, it's when they were caught with that, they said it was a childish prank. It was a schoolboy prank. So you shouldn't look at it as serious. They kidnapped an umpire and dunked him in ice water. That's what they did. Can they get away in the social media days? No way. But England has done this and more. It's part of their culture. It's part of their blood and part of the way who they are and what they are. So they like to crib, and I don't think we should bother about the cribbing at all. Let them crib till high heaven, but India will continue to play well. We should not get deflected from what is our task. Our task is to make the final. And, it will be a great final if two unbeaten sides, India and South Africa, contest the final. And that should be the first and last objective of the Indian team. Yes, there are certain minimum number of overs, and I hope it doesn't go to that because it would mean that this match will go on till about 4 a.m. IST. And that's not what we want. We want that just to be wrapped up very quickly.
Arshad Ayub, you just heard Vedam Jaishankar there. He seems to be in the mood to bash England even before the Indian team does.
Even if the rain stops,
Arshad Ayub,
take a minimum of 1.5
all right, Mr. Jaishankar, you're talking about all the past incidents involving England team. You seem to be in a mood to bash England and England fans even before Team India plans to do that on the field. Mr. Arshad Ayub, but looking at it objectively, I mean, of course, all these talks about the entire tournament being curated to benefit India and the BCCI trying to fix this entire match and all. Of course, these are all controversies that are better left to social media. But the fact of the matter, thinking objectively, is that when you have a global event like this T20 World Cup, it's ideal that you have a reserve day, especially when you're playing at a venue where 89% chance of rain is expected. I mean, given the fact that this is a global event, the least you can do is have one reserve day for a match like the semi-final, isn't it?
It's true. It's true that you should have a extra day for a semi-final so that, they get a fair chance to play. But unfortunately, because of some restrictions and all that, ICC has not given that day. I felt that, they should have given that extra day wherein you could have got a, fair result in that. But saying that, what's really happening is that in the limited formats, what they have come up with certain ideas. And I think that based on those ideas is that they have given a 250 minutes extra, wherein, even if they lose about an hour, I think they'll be still having a full game. I understand that what Vedam is saying with regard to we can't watch up to 4 o'clock. But then again, we are talking about fairness in the game. So I think they will get that fair game for 20 overs. If I hope that the day doesn't go by throughout with the rains. So we are hoping that since the rain has stopped, it will continue and we'll have a full game. In context of competition, I think both are doing really well, but India has not lost a single game, and that goes to show that they have beaten Australia also, where England has lost to Australia.
But also, so Mr. Arshad Ayub, India has not lost a game. India has been very confident. But we also need to remember that this is, of course, the same team that beat. This is the same team that beat India by 10 wickets in the last time, I mean, the last semi-final that they played. So clear horror memories there for Team India, and they'd be hoping that at least if it comes to that, they don't really bowl second, because it hasn't turned out well for them in the past two ICC events.
No, I think, one match can happen that way. I think we also lost one match like that to Pakistan, but then again, we came back and we won all the matches. That is something which we can look at. England, yes.
But the problem is, Mr. Arshad Ayub,
they,
these kind of matches for Team India come in the semi-final and the final. That's the problem. We don't get away with such matches in group stages. We have such a bad day only in the semi-final and the final. That's the biggest heartache for Indian fans right now.
we do have certain, you can say that, but we also won. We also did really well, and we have won matches. We have won tournaments. So I think, I'm hoping that, we will overcome jitters of the semi-final.
Arshad Ayub, we don't have a single ICC trophy for ages now. It's almost been a decade. I mean, the problem here, Mr. Arshad Ayub, is the fact that if we had a bad team, the fans would still be okay with us not winning tournaments. I mean, we'd still consider that, okay, we are trying hard. But this is a team that sails through, that dominates every single opposition in the group stages and every single match. But when it comes to knockouts, just something happens, something goes off, some switch goes off, and we suddenly start thinking a lot. We start playing defensively, and of course we lose the match. I mean, this has been a pattern that's been ongoing from Dhoni's era to Rohit's era, Virat Kohli's era. It seems to be a pattern now.
Well, I think the pattern is going to change now. I think there are a few new bloods in the team, and I think the attitude is different. And I'm very optimistic about it. There'll be a really good change, and this team will really do well. And I think we have an advantage definitely here. Even England, sometimes they are when they are cornered, they also crush down. So I feel that India will change around, and I think probably this is the turning around point for them.
All right. Mr. Vidub Jamshedkar, would you like to add to that? Because this has been a long-standing debate now, the fact that India really does well when it comes to group stages, but when it comes to knockout games, we just get too tentative. I just remembered a very interesting quote of Mr. Michael Vaughan, who also pointed out that India suddenly starts overthinking. India gets scared when it comes to knockouts because we start thinking about the billions of fans, how they would be reacting, and also the fact that there's a lot of expectations. So exactly in that context, it is the teams from countries like England or Australia that actually don't really have that sort of a pressure, and they end up doing better.
No, I don't really think so, because if you really look at it, you spoke about the last time when England beat India by 10 wickets. But I think there has been a tremendous mind change since then. We have adopted England's baseball, and we've done it very successfully. So it's not like earlier when we were playing safe and trying to get some sort of 150, 160 score. Now we are happy if we get 200, 220, 230. We're not bothered. We're just going hammer and tongs. Now that is going to be a worry for England. England realized that. They don't have the bowlers, really. If you look at it, this England team has just got two bowlers. Our challenge now would be, if it is a rain-shortened game, do you play Kuldeep Yadav or do you play Mohammad Siraj? That is the thing. Do you want to take a chance with Kuldeep Yadav if it is a rain-shortened game? Or would you like to play with Mohammad Siraj, whose chances would be much better? But England has a very, very strong batting lineup. Just like India has a very strong batting lineup. But the Indian bowling is much better than the English bowling. So whatever England might say, they realize that they have lost two matches. They lost two tough matches. They lost to South Africa. They lost to Australia. They only beat West Indies. Was one strong team they beat. Otherwise, they beat Oman. I think they beat Scotland or one of those other sides. But whereas India has been all comers, and that includes a team like Australia. So I think India is well prepared. It is a different Indian team. The outlook is different. The approach is different. The experience is different. And let's face it, that the West Indies conditions, actually suit us more than they suit England. England obviously would like a lot of seam bowling and a lot of bounce and things like that. They're not going to get that. They might get some seam movement, but they're not going to get a lot of bounce and other things there. So I think when you look at all factors, I think India is better prepared, have the better personnel, and I think they have the right mindset to really put it over England. England was good 2 years ago, but now they're actually on a downslope.
Right, Mr. Vedam, now, like I rightly pointed out earlier as well, the English fans would now be hoping that they can somehow manage to get the Chinnaswamy drainage system to Guyana, fix it there, ensure the toss happens on time, and also ensure that the game gets started, because with every minute that we lose, India stands to gain an advantage, and that's exactly what the English team fears. In fact, I appreciate you joining us for this discussion, Mr. Vedam Jaishankar and also Arshad Ayub. Really appreciate, and one only hopes that India does win the match and wins the match not just because of a rain wash, but because of a good performance. I appreciate you joining us on the broadcast.